Okay, we're here with our 1953 Alcort Sunfish zip. She had some hole punctures from being stored in a pod. I didn't tie her up correctly, so she kind of slipped down a little bit, and there's swivel cam cleat on the boat below, poked a few holes through the plywood, so we're working on repairing that. The had the jagged holes in through here and in through here, and we marked around them just to only be able to cut out just the little bit of broken bits, which you can see a little bit of that. It's kind of fuzzy down in the bottom there. So we didn't cut out really any more than we needed to, but enough to make a nice looking patch. It's going to be a letterbox patch, and by letterbox that means there'll be 2 layers of wood that go in. It's going to be one layer that's bigger underneath. We'll be able to slide it in and turn it, and then the top layer will be the thickness of the hull, and it's going to be in there, and it's going to pop right back up. It's going to fill that in just like a little plug. So over here we couldn't go too far aft because we have a frame there, so that frame will become part of the repair, and then we can just use some fairing compound to fill in where these first layer of ply peeled off. But to try to make the repairs as symmetrical as we can, we just looked around the shop for objects that were about as wide as the area we wanted to cut, and in this case we found this square here was just wide enough, so I laid it over the area and then traced. And when you trace cut lines, you got to decide whether you're going to cut inside the line, on the line, or outside the line. So with the area I drew out there, I figured I pretty much was going to cut on the line, because that little bit of it's called a kerf on the saw, how wide the saw blade is. That kerf, adds to your area that gets cut away. So you can go, why doesn't this board fit? It's like, well, we didn't account for the saw kerf, but we did for this. And then I wanted the ends to have kind of a nice half circle shape to them. Instead of having hard square corners, it'll help distribute stress a little bit better. If you have a little square corner, then you could potentially get a crack right there, a little stress riser develop. So I looked around the shop for different things to go, well, what's got a nice circle shape I can use? And what I found for this particular repair was this this waxed whipping twine. Happened to be just wide enough that I could put it up there, put it right on the top, and take the marker and mark around it. Also keeping in mind, how wide is the tip of your marker and what you're marking it with, or the barrel of a pencil or something like that. So is it pointy or is it fat? So you make a account for that. And then for this repair over here, started looking around for things and found that this tube of Thixo happened to be just about as wide as I wanted to make it. So made it, traced on either side of that to get the sides parallel, and then we went down on the end and said, well, that gives me about the circle I wanted. Took the marker, traced out, because when I first just kind of eyeballed it, the first cut, you can see I still have a little bit of a gap there, so I marked this area that I need to file out next. Sneaking up on it real slow. What I chose to use for this was a diamond file that's sold to trim down the edges on ceramic tile. Bought mine at Lowe's a couple years ago. It's made by Cobalt. Can't find them at Lowe's recently, but I have found it online. So it's got a flat side, and then it's got a nice curved side, so we can just take that. Just work it down a little bit at a time. Already got this bottom edge filed, so I just need to go back and finish in the rest of it up here, but I'm going to put the camera down for that. So those tools we're using to fix plywood, whipping twine, a square, ceramic file, tube thick sew, Sharpie. Then once I get the shape I want, I take the last few little bits off of this 120, just 120 grit sandpaper, just to make sure there's not any fuzzies or little chips left in there that might affect the bonding of the adhesive later. And our DeWalt jigsaw. So that's what's going on with the zip right now.